never thought walking into a place like this would make me feel so small. The glossy marble floors stretched endlessly beneath Thomas's worn boots, their muddy soles a stark contrast to the polished sheen. Around him, the sleek private jets gleamed under the showroom lights, symbols of wealth and power. But Thomas wasn't here to admire. He was here to claim what he had earned, his dream. Heads turned. Whispers rippled through the crowd like a cold wind. He felt their eyes, not curious, not respectful, but judging, dismissing him before a word was spoken. The manager's narrowed gaze lingered on Thomas's faded cap and threadbare shirt, disbelief flashing like lightning in his eyes. "Excuse me, are you sure you're in the right place?" A voice cut through the tension. Greg, the young salesman with a smirk that spoke volumes, stepped forward, his suit immaculate, his attitude sharper than his tie. Thomas met Greg's eyes calmly, refusing to let anger rise. He reached out to touch the smooth fuselage of a small jet, drawing strength from its cold perfection. This wasn't just a machine to him. It was a symbol of every early morning, every hard-earned dollar, every barrier he'd faced. Around him, the murmurs grew louder. Look at him. Does he really think he belongs here? But Thomas held his ground. This was more than a showroom. It was a battlefield, and he was ready to fight, not with fists, but with the quiet power of dignity. Because he knew one thing. No amount of scorn could erase the truth of who he was or the dreams he was determined to make real. Thomas Johnson's boots crunched against the gravel as he pulled his battered pickup truck to a stop outside the jet showroom. The midday sun hung high in the sky, casting long shadows over the gleaming glass and steel of the airport's newest luxury building. He stepped down slowly, his worn cap pulled low against the heat, his faded plaid shirt and mud-streaked jeans marking him as a man of the earth, an outsider here. The hum of conversation and clinking of glasses floated out as he approached the entrance. Inside, polished marble floors stretched beneath rows of private jets, their shiny bodies reflecting bright lights. Men and women in tailored suits mingled, their laughter light but their eyes sharp, scanning the room like hawks. Thomas's presence broke the flawless picture, and he felt the weight of their stares settle on him immediately. He kept his head high, though. Today was the day he had dreamed about for years. Today was the day he would step into this world on his own terms. A young man with perfectly combed hair and a crisp navy suit noticed him almost immediately. The man's eyebrows knitted together in confusion, then disdain. He was likely the showroom manager. His gaze flicked from Thomas's dusty boots up to his weathered face and back again, as if trying to understand why someone like him would dare to walk in. Thomas caught a whisper nearby. "Who let him in here? Doesn't he look like he just came off a farm?" The words hung in the air, sharp and cold. A few chuckles followed, low and cruel. But Thomas did not flinch. Instead, he stepped further inside, the sound of his boots echoing through the silent hall. Each step was deliberate, a quiet declaration that he belonged here as much as anyone else. He stopped in front of a small jet, its metal surface smooth and gleaming. His hand reached out instinctively, fingers brushing against the cool exterior. This wasn't just a machine. It was the embodiment of years of toil, sweat, and unyielding determination. From the corner of the room, murmurs rose again. Probably here just to take pictures. Does he even know what this is? What a joke. Thomas felt the sting but held firm. His eyes never left the jet. A shadow moved toward him. Greg stepped forward, crossing his arms with a smug smile. His voice cut through the room. "Are you sure you belong here?" Thomas turned, eyes steady, voice calm. "Exactly where I'm meant to be." The room seemed to hold its breath. The first battle was just beginning. Thomas stood his ground, feeling the weight of every gaze in the showroom. The whispers didn't cease, but he refused to let them break his resolve. His hand remained gently resting on the jet's cold metal, grounding him amidst the storm of judgment swirling around him. From across the room, a familiar voice cut through the tension. "Thomas, is that really you?" He turned to see James Carter, an old friend from high school, approaching with a warm smile and steady stride. James's tailored suit and polished shoes marked a world Thomas had never fully stepped into, yet his presence now offered a flicker of hope. "James," Thomas breathed out, a rare smile breaking across his weathered face. James's smile widened as he clapped Thomas on the shoulder. I didn't expect to find you here, but I'm glad you're not backing down. The two men exchanged a brief look that spoke volumes, an unspoken bond forged in their shared past and the battles they had fought in their own ways. Around them, the murmurs continued, but some heads turned toward James with curious eyes. His confident demeanor seemed to soften the sharp edges of hostility just a little. Marcus Johnson, Thomas's son, arrived soon after. His charcoal gray suit was impeccable, his eyes sharp and commanding. He moved through the crowd like a force of nature, drawing immediate attention. "Dad," Marcus called out, placing a reassuring hand on Thomas's shoulder. "Are you all right?" Thomas nodded, though the tension in his shoulders remained. Marcus's gaze swept the room, landing on Greg and others whose whispers had filled the air. His voice dropped low but firm. "This stops now." Greg's smirk faltered as Marcus approached, his confidence shaken by the presence of someone ready to challenge the status quo. Thomas felt a renewed strength beside him. The fight was far from over, but with friends and family at his side, he was no longer alone. Together, they faced the murmurs and the stares, standing tall amid a sea of doubt and disdain. The battle lines were drawn, not just for a jet, but for dignity, respect, and the right to dream without prejudice. Greg stepped closer, the smirk never leaving his face, as if he was ready to enjoy watching Thomas crumble. "Look, I don't think this place is for you," Greg said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Maybe you should check out the used car lot down the street. This showroom, it's for people who actually know what they're doing." Thomas met Greg's gaze evenly, his voice steady and calm. "I'm here because I've earned the right to be," Greg laughed, a cold, dismissive sound. "Earned the right by farming? You don't belong in a place like this." The room seemed to shrink around Thomas as whispers grew louder. "What's he even doing here?" "Probably here for a charity giveaway." Thomas felt the sting of each word, but he didn't flinch. Instead, he took a deep breath, drawing strength from the dreams that had carried him this far. He ran his hand across the sleek control panel of the jet, feeling the smooth, cold surface beneath his fingertips. It was a reminder of everything he was fighting for, not just a plane, but a symbol of hard work and perseverance. Greg stepped even closer, breaching Thomas's personal space, his eyes gleaming with condescension. "You think you can afford this? You don't even belong here." Thomas's fists clenched at his sides, but he refused to give Greg the satisfaction of seeing him lose control. "This isn't about what you think I should have," Thomas said quietly. "It's about what I've worked for." The crowd around them watched, some with curiosity, others with thinly veiled amusement. But Thomas stood firm, unwavering in the face of ridicule. He knew the road ahead would be difficult, but backing down was never an option. This was his moment, to prove that dreams weren't limited by where you come from or what you wear.